Restaurant Unstoppable. Inspire, empower, and transform the industry.
And man, you have a really interesting path to where you got to today, because you didn't know you went to Harvard University. So early on, you didn't, but you also took time away from Harvard to go study abroad and cook, right? So you must have known somewhat early that this is your path, but you still wanted to go to Harvard. Like, what was going on through your mind? Like,
yeah, I didn't study abroad. I started cooking when I was in high school because I was on the wrestling team, and every week I had to lose weight, and so I'd have to eat tiny amounts of tuna or something like that, and I would come home and I would tell my mom, I can't eat that, I want this, and she would say, great, make your own food. And so I started making my own food. I enjoyed it. I got to Harvard just on as that was college. That's where I was going. That's what I was doing next. And I didn't love being in school, and school didn't love me back. And I joined a club basically as a magazine, and one of their traditions was Thursday night dinners for everybody, black tie dinners, and I volunteered to cook the dinners, and I used to spend 13 days out of 2 weeks planning and then making these huge dinners, and getting mediocre grades in my classes, but just getting more and more into the dinners. And at some point, I went, where was I? I was in New Orleans with a friend, and we went to some French restaurant. I loved going out. I loved trying food. I loved, any kind of street food, whatever. And I was talking to the chef, and he said, well, you should go to France and cook. And I said, well, okay. How do you do that? This is 1980, no internet, no, and he said, well, I'll give you the name of like the greatest chef in Burgundy, and you should go work for him. And I said, okay, sounds good. And I got back home and I thought, you know what, maybe, what the hell, why not? So I wrote the guy a letter. I want to come work for you. Never heard back from him. At the end of my sophomore year, after getting like an F in art history or something like that, I thought, you know what, I don't want to be doing this anymore. I want to cook. So I packed all my stuff and I got on a bicycle in Brussels and biked down to Burgundy and showed up at this restaurant. And of course it was closed because it was August. And they opened the next day. So I went into town and I dropped all my stuff off at some, I think it was like $15 a night hostel. And I went back the next day and I said, and the chef was there. They were reopening the restaurant, and I said, "Hi, I'm the one who wrote you that letter." And he said,
"What letter, or which one?"
He said, "Yeah, I got the letter, but I can't. Yeah, no, I can't. You can't work here. You don't have working papers in Europe, and I don't need anybody." And I lied, and I said, "Oh, I'm here with just my bicycle, and I have no way of getting home. I used all my money to get here, and I'll have to write home." And he was a nice guy, and he said, "All right, you can sleep downstairs in the pigsty with the other 14-year-old apprentices." So
how old were you at this time? Like
I was
20,
19, yeah. And so I said, okay, great. And, can I peel onions or something in the meantime? And he basically said, no, you need skill to peel onions. I wouldn't let you peel my onions. But, I hung around. Like I kept telling him that, I'd written to my parents, but 1980, it would take a while. I'd have to get money back. And, anyway, so I stayed there about 2 weeks, and what happened in those 2 weeks is the chef had a daughter, and she was a couple years younger than me, and he had trained in Australia. His English was very good.
Okay.
And she really wanted to speak English, and while I was working my way up to peeling onions, I was also teaching her English.
Okay. Fair trade.
Yeah, and at the end of 2 weeks, he was pretty excited that her English had gotten better, and he said, okay, you can stay till the end of the summer. I finally ran out of time, and I said, yeah, my parents said, they'll send me money. I can go home. But can I stay? And he said, yeah, if you keep teaching her English. And by the end of the summer, I had graduated to peeling onions and then, plucking herbs. And then I was allowed to, hose down the fish walk and all the classic apprentice stuff. I ended up staying for about a year and a half. I worked my way up to be the apprentice to the chef poissonnier, the guy who cooked all the fish dishes.
Okay.
And one day he went to Australia, left a note behind, I'm not coming back. And in this big kitchen of 20-something people, with all the apprentices and people who'd been there for years, not a single person knew how to do any of the fish dishes. I was the only one because I like fish, and I was watching him, and everybody else wanted to be the meat guy. And he, it was it was a catastrophic blow to the kitchen to have an American like actually put their hands on one of the the dishes. Yeah, because then I was 19, but I knew how to make them.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I stayed till the end of the following summer and learned how to cook. And
So
then
up to this point, I think it's really important for me to point out one of the key characteristics of successful people, and especially in the restaurant industry, is just to go out there and take a risk and just go.
every
Just
every
go, right? Just
every
start,
job,
right?
every job.
Whatever it is, just go, and you'll be. If you have the right intentions, if the passion is there, the desire is there, if you just go, the universe has a way of kind of just being like, okay, we'll figure it out.
Well,
right?
that's the Woody Allen quote, right? Half of success is showing up.
Yeah.
And it builds on itself, right? So I got back to Harvard because I promised my dad that I would finish school. So I got back, and there was I looked around, and the restaurant that was the most interesting was a really, really fascinating Northern Italian restaurant. Again, 1982 or whatever this was. It was not, there wasn't much experiment going on.
I'm curious, what were you studying at Harvard? I'm curious if that had any.
I was a philosophy major, and when I came back, I actually switched over to Russian language and literature, which was something I always loved and thought, well, I can't actually major in that. But going away and doing this, I came back with kind of an attitude of, I can do whatever I want, and so I switched majors and ended up being fluent in Russian. But
so that didn't really serve you that much in your career as a restaurateur. Do you think it has?
The Russian?
Yeah, did it?
Not at all. No.
Okay.
No.
Sorry. Keep going.
That's right. The philosophy did.
I was curious about
Yeah,
that.
no,
yeah.
Well, yeah. As you translate from making dishes to managing a company with 3,000 people, philosophy is helps
Maybe
a
we
lot,
can
yeah.
shelf that.
But anyway, so I looked around. I found this really cool restaurant. I walked in. I said, "Hey, I just got back from a 1.5-year apprenticeship in France," and they said, "When can you start?" I was going to class, so I worked just Friday and Saturday nights. That's it. But it was a great restaurant. And it was just the opposite of France. Everyone who ran it was a hippie, and Cambridge and Somerville back in the early 80s was full of grown hippies starting businesses, but they made everything themselves. They pickled everything. They had it was a very loose ethos, but anything went, and the food was great. So I did that for 2 years.
Okay.
And then I graduated, and I thought, okay, this bug hasn't gone away, so I want to cook.